If you're suffering with unbalanced emotions, you've probably struggled with maintaining healthy relationships with the opposite sex. And if you're desiring to live a long, happy life, an intimate life with a partner, then you really have to overcome this obstacle of emotional imbalance. And you know why I'm qualified to share some insights? Because I've been a little cray-cray. But you know what? I overcame it. And today is your day to learn how to harness your uncontrolled thoughts and emotions once and for all. And if you listen and apply what you are going to hear today to your personal situation, you'll stop self-sabotaging potentially great relationships. You'll be empowered to leave toxic ones that have a partner who they also need some changing, but they're unwilling to do it. And if you're not in a relationship yet, when you are, it'll be an emotionally healthy one. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the See, Change, Grow show with Lindy Tedesco. And if it's your first time here, my name's Lindy, and I help you see your potential, change your mindset, and learn how to grow an increasingly fulfilling life by sharing personal, proven information. And if you would take a second to hit like and subscribe to this channel, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Now let's dive right in. This is your first step to emotional wellness and freedom. Denial. You have to come clean. You cannot continue living a life of denial if you want things to change. Look, if your relationships keep falling apart and you're continually always blaming the other persons for being at fault, then you really need to wake up. And you need to stop denying your own insecurities. Denying that you have insecurities doesn't hide them from others. And if you aren't being honest about your issues, the only person you're deceiving is you. And don't kid yourself. Everyone sees your faults. Just think about it. Think of any person and think of their flaws or their faults. Do they realize they have them? Sometimes yes, but usually no. And have people tried pointing it out to them? Probably. Do they listen? Probably not. So don't feel ashamed that you have issues. We all have issues. And if you think you don't, you're definitely lying to yourself because you do. It's only a problem though to have issues when they're destroying your life or your chance at happiness, and you refuse to admit it and to get the help that you may need. So step number one is just admit it. It's easy peasy, right? Don't care what anyone else thinks. Your life is way too important to let other people's opinion of you keep you from growing. Okay, now on to step number two. Blame. Number two is blame. If you want to live a fulfilling life of intimacy with another human being, you need to stop blaming other people for any problem you're dealing with. When you are young, you learn from your parents and other adults some things that are good, but you also learned some things that are not so good. For example, if your parents fought and yelled and screamed, then this is what you learned. You may have even seen them act manipulative, or you may have seen unstable behaviors that made you feel scared and unsafe. Or perhaps you witnessed an unfaithful relationship or a divorce. You learned to survive the hurt you witness, but unintentionally you received the mindset your parents were operating out of that caused them to make bad choices or behave unstable. This mental programming happens to all of us. It's unavoidable. So you don't need to feel ashamed of it. In fact, you're going to program your future children if you don't have them already. But we are not doomed to repeat the mistakes of our predecessors. We may have been programmed to think and behave a certain way in our youth, but as adults, we can make the choice to think and behave in a way that creates a life of peace and harmony. Or you might already be in a relationship with someone who truthfully treats you like dirt, and you try to talk to them, but they refuse to listen. Even if your parents were a mess and you are with a partner who treats you like dirt, you cannot blame them for your emotional state or the choices that you're currently making. You cannot blame other people for your uncontrolled emotions. Your upbringing cannot be an excuse to continue thinking and acting unstable or toxic. As an adult, no one can force you to think and behave a certain way. If you want a happy and healthy relationship with another individual, no matter what your situation is right now, you cannot blame anyone else. You must take 100% responsibility for your current life situation. By doing so, you are taking control. You are grabbing on to the reins of your mind, and you're taking full power, and it's being put into your own hands. Therefore, step number 2 is you cannot blame your parents, your partner, you cannot blame anyone else for your current life situation. Now, on to step number 3. This is where the real important stuff happens. Don't get stuck on step number 1 and 2, denial and blame. Don't let them keep you from breaking free. Just rip those 2 petty steps off like band-aids so you can get to the real nitty-gritty that will grow the life you really desire. So step number 3 is reprogramming. Yes, it's so important. It's necessary. Let's dig into this a little bit. I want you to think about this. When you are feeling emotionally unstable, you're breaking down, you're flipping out, what's happening that's triggering this event? I'm going to use myself as an example, as I often do. In the past, if I was with a man, for example, and a pretty woman, and we were in a room with a bunch of people, and a pretty woman walked in the room, and he was checking her out, I would start with the mental games. I'd pout. I'd accuse him of having wrong thoughts. I'd get jealous. I'd feel like I could lose him. And this would cause feelings of fear and insecurity. And if I had been drinking, because way back then I used to drink, and the alcohol would mix in with my mental instability, and there'd probably end up being a knockdown, drag out fight. I'd cry, I'd scream, I'd demand a hug at the end of assurance and make him say a lot of stupid things. Can I get a gray gray? Yeah, I know I'm kind of making an extreme example, but let's be real. When we're acting emotionally unstable, it's usually a pretty extreme display. Why was I responding to a pretty woman and a man's response to her in such a dramatic way? The bottom line, or the root of it, of the entire situation, was my own insecurities. I did not believe I was amazing and that I was worthy of an amazing man. I did not believe I was good enough and that I had great ability and potential. That I believed my value was determined by what other people thought of me. I was living in fear that the man I was with would cheat on me or leave me. I believed I needed a man. My out of control emotions were a manifestation of my own insecurities. But how have things changed for me? And what did I do to reprogram my personal beliefs about myself and my mind. So years and years went by. And I had stopped drinking, so I had stopped freaking out on boyfriends, but I still struggled mentally and emotionally. So let's look at the root of my problem. When it comes to a relationship between a man and a woman, I had bad programming. Now, I turn into an adult, and I'm still responding to situations based from my past programming. So my first step to change my mental mess was I had to take accountability. I got the help I needed, and I stopped making excuses and blaming my husband at the time, or blaming my parents, or blaming my boss, etc. for my personal struggles. I stopped denying that I had a problem, and it was my problem and no one else's, regardless of the choices that they were making. My problems had to be owned, and that's what I did. I owned up to my issues. I took the reins into my own hands, and now I have the power to make some changes, and I got to work. I started off by waking up before anyone in the house was up, before the kids needed me, before anyone else needed my attention. I would get up early. I would spend time praying. I would spend time reading self-help material, journaling, creating confessions, saying confessions. I would get my head on straight before the craziness of the day began. This way, when opposing thoughts, words, behaviors of other people came my way, I would be equipped and I would be grounded and ready to give a response that would create a new outcome. Basically, in order to create a happy and healthy life, a happy and healthy relationship and relationships, I had to do some reprogramming. I had to learn and believe different things about myself. Once I learned to really think and believe well of myself, I no longer reacted or made decisions from a root of insecurity. Today, if I was in a crowded room with my man and a beautiful woman walked into the room, this is how I'd react. I would probably lean over to my husband and say, "Wow, she's hot." And he'd say, "Yeah, she is." And then we'd probably talk about what's so hot about her. At some point, I'd probably end up having a conversation with her and complimenting her. I would never worry about my husband's feelings of interest regarding another woman because, number one, I don't care. It would be his loss if he were to do something stupid. And my time is just too valuable to be wasted worrying. I don't need a man. I am enough. And number two, I would never be with someone I couldn't trust because I value myself too much. And number three, I know I'm beautiful and I don't need to compare myself to anyone else. I like myself. I like who I am. So remember, if you haven't been living the most emotionally stable existence and you want to get a grip on your emotions, you must, one, stop denying you have a problem. Two, no more blaming others for your unhappiness or for your unstable relationship or relationships. Take accountability. Take back your power by taking accountability. And number three, do the work. Do the work of reprogramming your beliefs and your thoughts about yourself. And if you will completely follow through with these 3 steps, then watch out because everything in your life is about to change. And that's exciting. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I'm going to see you again next week so we can keep seeing, changing, and growing together.